Joined now by the Toledo Rockets radio sideline reporter, Coach Mike Robinson, to talk Little Rockets. And before we get into Friday morning's early kickoff, I guess it's not that early for a morning, but it's early for a football game.
It's definitely early.
Before we do that, we need to talk about the dismantling last week at Bowling Green. Now, I'm sure not a whole lot of people were surprised that Toledo won that game, but that big third quarter that blew that game open, because it was only a 3-point game at halftime. Rockets just blew the doors off in the third quarter.
And you know what, Mark? You got to give credit to Bowling Green. They did a very, very good job playing Toledo in the first half. Big runs, and that's kind of been a theme for Toledo, giving up a big run early in the game and then settling in the second half. And in the second half here, it was all running back you. Then we turned into a wide receiver you. It's crazy. Shaquille Seymour, what a great freshman. And you also had Terry Swanson with a career game of 192 rushing yards. That is amazing, especially on top of your rival.
Yeah, you look at what they did offensively without doing a whole lot through the air because Swanson and Seymour were just dominating the ball on the ground.
Yeah, and when you talk about those guys, you got to add Art Tompkins in there as well. He had the big scamper down the sideline. He's another threat. He's another home run threat because he's a scat back with the speed. But then you also talk about Logan Woodside. he had a career game as well, breaking Bruce Gradkowski's touchdown record, and already broke his passing record. Now he's a couple hundred yards away from breaking 10,000, be the first player in UT history to do it. I think he got 200 yards to do it.
A couple of weeks ago, Toledo came off a big emotional victory over Northern Illinois and came out flat the following week against Ohio. What's going to be different this week, coming off a big emotional win over Bowling Green, with Western Michigan coming to town on Friday?
Well, I overheard Coach talking about a few things last week in Bowling Green, and one of the things that he said was, at halftime, he said 90 minutes to Detroit. And then now it's 60 minutes to Detroit. So these guys are locked in. This senior class, they've won 37 games, lost 12, I believe, something like that. These guys are phenomenal. And this group has been resilient all year, bouncing back from injuries, being dinged up. So the Rockets, what they really have to do today, do this week, is just come out and just pound the ball like they did last week and make sure they keep everything in front of them. The emotional part of it is going to be there. It's senior night. Anytime it's a senior night. I think that's a problem at OU. You're hopefully, at OU, it was senior night. You get to see those kids come out there. It's a little bit different for you. So you add a trip to Detroit on the line. You talk about senior night on the line, and it's for everything. It's your last home game. You don't want to lose that.
Yeah, the Bobcats then came out flat the following week, leaving the Eastern Division of the MAC a little bit up for grabs right now. It's going to come down to happens between Akron and Kent, but we're going to focus on the West and Toledo. Western Michigan, a year ago, they kind of took the Rockets to the woodshed, and I know Toledo has not forgotten what they did in Kalamazoo, and they're out for a little bit of revenge from last year.
Oh, no doubt. And the first person that's out for revenge is definitely Jason Candle. He went out there and looked at this team, and his eyes had a very good game plan. In the first play of the game, pick six. Just like that game transforms, and then you just hear everybody screaming, roll the boat, roll the boat. It was a cult out there for what they do. PJ Fleck did an excellent job with Western Michigan. But this is the Rockets' year. This is all destiny. This is fate for these guys. They've been working year after year to get to this point, beating the teams that they've needed to beat. They beat NIU for 2 years in a row now. That was one hurdle. Western Michigan, for the past 2 years, have beaten Toledo. That's the next hurdle. Toledo leads the series 41-30 overall, but they need this one to make it happen for them. This is the year for Toledo football, and this is the key. They got to make sure they get after the quarterback, in my opinion.
Now, you mentioned PJ Fleck. Obviously, he's rode the boat to Minnesota. He's no longer in Kalamazoo. He was a fantastic recruiter, so what he built with the Broncos, the foundation is still there this year.
Yeah, senior laden team right now. And, you look at some of the guys, they got very good football players like Watson and Franklin. Franklin has over 1,200 yards. And one thing is, I'm not concerned about that. Toledo's defense is so good up front, led by Marquise Moore, Whitmer native. This kid is so good up front. He's a low guy to the ground. And one thing that they had a problem with last year was a little bit of depth issues on that defensive line. I think we've seen them guys get that thing fixed up here. And Western Michigan is always going to be a top-tier program. But you know what? I think this is the time that the Rockets fly high.
Yeah, Marquise, one of those fifth-year seniors who will be playing their final game in the Glass Bowl. Now, we kind of touched on it earlier, an 11:30 a.m. kick. Now, in the MAC, you've got to be used to playing at all different hours of the night, all different days of the week, but playing at 11:30 in the morning, for the Central Time Zone guys, that's not that out of the norm. But for an East Coast-based team like Ohio, like Toledo is in Ohio, obviously that's going to be a little bit different preparation to play at 11:30.
You know, I think these guys have been thrown so many different things at them. You talk about Maction for one. I mean, they played 3 games in 18 days. That's unprecedented. You know, that's tough to do. So when you talk about playing at 11 a.m., they're like, wait, we got an extra day and we get to play at 11 a.m.? That's a good thing. And then you also get to catch the football games afterwards. So this is a good scheduling. You know, I kind of got thumbs up for the scheduling, making it an early game, getting it done, getting it out the way. But the best thing about it is the Rockets are home. And they don't have to worry about the travel. You got Thanksgiving. You know, last year on the road, you had to do Thanksgiving on the road. You got to make those adjustments. This year, not many adjustments. You just got to come out, perform, and make sure your guys is right. Toledo's offense is so good. I mean, they're number 7 in the country in offense efficiency. You know, these guys need to come out and have a hot start because there's nothing else after this. You got to win this game. And yeah, the pressure's there, but you know what? Playing at 11 o'clock in the morning gives you the advantage because now this Rockets team likes to get up early. You know, Jason Candle's a stickler with his schedule. He make these players get up. They'll be up. They'll be wide awake. They won't be on their legs too long. They're going to be walking around. So they'll be able to go out there and play a good game of football.
And as Logan Woodside pointed out, with this being senior day, with it being the day after Thanksgiving, that's going to allow the families to come up and really have an extended time with the players as they get ready. Day after Thanksgiving, so maybe the offensive lineman can hit that second piece of pumpkin pie. Skill guys better watch their carbohydrate intake on Thanksgiving. Mike Robinson, thank you very much for joining us. Send it back to Eric.